The problem is the two things are exactly opposite. This earphone, this one to be on, everything must be down, that one must be up. So Bismillah, tafadal. What you got? Bu'aidah. What you got in your kitab? You got Ba'id, let me see. I remember this is Bu'aid, let me see. Huh? Where is it? That's Bu'aidah. That's Bu'aidah. Must just remember that. I remember from the class also. Bu'aidah is also like I must just pick it up. I can't remember what's the tahqiq of the word. If you even know the tahqiq of the word, they can just tell me. But I remember it's Bu'aidah and they also written Bu'aidah, right? Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. So normally when you get Bara, it means هذا Bara ibn Azib. وعلي Bara ibn Azib قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مربوعا. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم used to be مربوعا. We done this word was average height. Remember I told you he was average height, but because of his awe, etc., he appeared to be taller than normal, right? بُعَيْدَ ما بين المنكبين. Literally translate, it was distant what was between his two shoulders. In other words, he was broad-shouldered. He was broad-shouldered, right? له شعر. He had hair. بلغ شحمة أذنيه, which would reach the lobes. شحمة, the soft fleshy part, the lobes of the ear. رأيت في حلة حمراء. I saw him in a red set. Right now, you know, Alif Mamduda, Alif Amduda, that's Alif, and you got the Alif and the Hamza after it, right? And when it is over and above the root, when it's over and above the three root letters, it's just Alamatu Ta'nif. I know Alamatu Ta'nif, so it's as good as a Ta marbuta. So that's why it's غير منصرف. That's why I say في حلة حمراء لم أرى شيئا قط أحسن منه. Subhanallah. So just imagine, this picture this. So this Sahabi saying, I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his hair, beautiful hair, reaching up to his earlobes, right? And then I saw him in a red set of clothes. The separate masla that for men to wear solid red. It is makruh tanzihi, right? Lam ara shay'an qattu ahsana minhu. I did not see anything more beautiful than in my entire life. In other words, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, handsome Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with his hair coming to his earlobes, his turban, and he's broad-shouldered, and in a red set of clothes. I tell you, means not a solid red. That's a separate discussion. It will come under Kitabul Libas if you never do it as yet. And I haven't seen anything more handsome, more beautiful than this in my entire life. Muttafaqun alayh. This is a muttafaq alayh riwayat, means it comes in Bukhari and Muslim. وفي رواية لمسلم, and a riwayat of Muslim Shareef قال ما رأيت من ذي لمة. I did not see a person of a possessor of limma, right? أحسن في حلة حمراء. I'm going to give you a bit of explanation of this now. In a red sort of clothes, mir Rasulullah sallallahu, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And it says, شعره يضرب منكبيه, that his hair used to touch. ضرب يضرب means to hit, but it means used to touch his shoulders. بعيد ما بين المنكبين, distance is what is between his two shoulders. ليس بالطويل, not very tall, because to be very tall and thin, it's not a sifat mamduda to be very tall. Wat is in Afrikaans? Lank, maar en deurmekaar. Right? Tall people are normally deurmekaar, lank, maar en deurmekaar, right? So to be very tall is not a sifat mamduda, right? Right? Wala bil qasiri, and not very short. Okay, This one thing I'll explain to you now. Just remember this explanation I'm going to give you now. It will help you understand a lot of different hadith. That certain hadith, okay, before we come to that, there's three, you'll do this also, it will come in Kitabul Libas. There was, the Nabi Sallallahu hair was three lengths. One was limma, which means beyond the shoulders. Limma, right? Wafra, and then wafra means still below the ears. Ears, right? And Jumma, right? Till the earlobes, etc. Right? So now, if you look at the different hadith, you will find at different occasions, different Sahaba explain the length of Nabi Sallallahu hair to be different. And the answer is pretty simple. What's the answer? Why different times, different Sahaba come explain the hair of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to different lengths? What's the answer? It's simple. Nabi Sallallahu hair was growing. So then when a Sahabi said, I saw it by his earlobes, he probably just cut it. Then when another Sahabi said, I saw it beyond his earlobes, it grew a little while. And then that Sahabi says, I saw his hair right by his shoulders. It means that was, he haven't cut it for a long time. So each Sahabi, he would speak about the hair of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he saw it, right? Are you with me? So that's so that is no contradiction between it. It is pretty simple that you, if somebody say why sometimes explain like this, one time there you got your answer, right? Okay, read the next hadith. Okay, let's look at the next hadith with regard to the beautiful explanation of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. وعن سماك بن حرب narrating the authority of Simak ibn Harb عن جابر ibn Samura narrating the authority of Jabir ibn Samura. He said, كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم I'm not going to translate this because the explanation comes in the hadith and the explanation will come in the shara, right? كان ظلي الفم, right? أشكل العين, منهوس العقبين, قيل لسماك, it was said to us, Simak, right? ما ضريء الفم. What does ضريء الفم means? He said, قال عظيم الفم. Literally means like big mouth, right? قيل ما أشكال العين. What is أشكال? قال طويل شق العين. Long the openings of the eyes. قيل ما منهوس العقبين. What is منهوس العقب? قال قليل لحم العقب. Little of the flesh of the heels. رواه مسلم. Imam Muslim narrates this particular riwayat. ضليء الفم, explanation means wasi'. So his mouth wasn't very, very small. It was maybe slightly bigger than average. Not obviously very, very big, because very big would have been not a sifate mamdura, sifate mazmuma. And it's mentioned here also that amongst the Arabs, to have a slightly large mouth was a sifate mamduda. Remember, I told you that each physical feature in a person's body, it is representative of something. In Urdu, they call it kiafa shanasi. If you look at the physical features of a person, and from his physical features, you can determine his character, etc., etc., right? And yeah, amongst the Arabs, a bigger than average mouth would be a size of fasahat and balaghat, that the person is very eloquent, is a very dynamic speaker. Then أشكال العينين وما فيه حمرة وبياض مختلطة. So أشكال العينين here explain, it is that eyes in which there is like a reddish and whitish. So in other words, Like I'm looking at your eyes, I can see your eyes. Yeah, there's, you can see the veins slightly reddish. Obviously, if it's bright red, like when a person maybe got some illness or is very very tired or something, then that doesn't look nice. That looks scary. But like bright red, bright white eyes, and then next to I will also say dark black pupils and slight tinge of redness. That was also a sifate mamduda. It was a you can say sought after quality. That's what it's saying. ما فيه حمرة وبياض مختلطة. So another thing is among the Arabs to have big eyes was a sifate mamduda. That's why you say in the Quran, وحور عين. What's the explanation of حور عين? Large-eyed damsels, right? So yes, yes, the whiteness very white and the blackness very black, and then very light lines of redness, which was very beautiful. So this is the explanation of Samak, which he gave Ashkalul Ainain. So here he's saying that some ulama they say Ashkalul Ainain is going to be big-eyed, which also may be right because it's also a sifate mamduda, right? Manhusul Aqibain. Aqib is the heels. Remember that once Rasulullah saw certain Sahaba Ikram, they were not being so thorough with the heels in wudu. So Nabi Sallallahu said, Wailul lil aqabi minan nar. Woe to the heels that will take you to the fire. So Aqib aqab, right? So manhush come from nahasha. And nahasha means to be less. So to have, so his heels weren't very fleshy. So obviously your heels are very fleshy from the back. It's not a sifate mamduda, it is sifate mazmuma, right? Can you read the next hadith? Right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأنا بالطفيل قال رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان أبيض أبيض obviously that is أفعل scale so it is غير منصرف you say أبيضا right you know you done that when that you done in detail مليحا مقصدا رواه مسلم right narrating authoritative Abu Tufail he said Rasul he was fair and maliha I tell you not pale white like you see the ghost or like something that hasn't been exposed to any sun any time or any place because obviously that's not a sifate mamduda malihan muqassaran here refer to average height. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's height was average and in certain riwayat you know it was ربعة القوم مقصدا. There's actually a hadith where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said أنا مليح I'm مليح that means I'm not pale white وأخي يوسف صبيح and my brother Yusuf was صبيح. Read the next riwayat. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن ثابت قال سئل أنس عن خضاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Narrated about on time has Anas, he said once, sorry, narrated on the story of Thabit al-Bunani, he says, once as Anas was asked about khidab, the dye. And obviously in the time of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they used to use natural things like henna, etc. was asked about the dye of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So he's saying, uh, he was asked about the dye of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إنه لم يبلغ ما يغضبه. What does it mean? He did not reach ما يغضبه, what he will die. What does it mean? ولو شئت أن أعد شمطاته في لحيته. If I wish to count the white hairs in his beard. وفي رواية ولو شئت أن أعد شمطات كنا في رأسي فأوت. If I wish to count the white hairs in his head that were in his head, right? فأوت, I could do that. I could do that. Change the page, please. متفق عليه. وفي رواية المسلمين قال إنما كان البياض في أنفقته وفي الصدغين وفي الرأس نبذ. Okay, what does this mean? إنه لم يبلغ ما يغضب. What does it mean? Loud? Right, very good. He didn't reach that stage where his hair was excessively white, or he had so many white hair that he needed to dye. In other words, he just had few white hairs, few and far apart. He had few and far apart. Are you with me? That's what it means. That's why if you just confirm by the next part, لو شئت, he had so few white hairs that لو شئت أن أعد شمطاته في لحيته. If I wish to count the white hairs in his beard, and another riwayah suggests وفي رواية لو شئت أن أعد شمطات. If I wish to count the white hairs, كنا, كان, this is, you can say the white hairs, then كنا is like a jumla فعلا become the sifat. The white is كنا في رأسه, which was in his head. فعلت, I could do that. There were so few. If there was so much, they're not so much that they were not they're not so numerous that I was unable to count them, right? This is متفق عليه. This is متفق على رواية. وفي رواية لمسلم وفي رواية وفي رواية لمسلم, and another رواية for Muslim Shareef قال إنما كان بياض في أنفقته وفي الصدغين. That now normally, normally when you see, okay, you never start growing, but normally when a person starts growing, the first place you start growing is by the temples. In Uri called Kanpati. Kanpati. So they say so that he just Nabi Sam just started growing. So he said that verily the whiteness was uh right في أنفقته sorry أنفقته, I think it refers to, just check it where I think it refers to here the say here, and I just checked it أنفقة. You got it, here's the dictionary. Sadoghai refer to the temples, right? And this refer to Anfaka, what we refer to your baby beard, See, look here. Actually, you don't have it also. This one here. You guys is growing, mashallah. You're becoming a big man now. Just check there. Anfaqatihi. While you're checking, just confirming that word, I just want to explain another masla here. So, while we're discussing this here, that the baby beard is part of the beard. The baby beard, you cannot cut it off. Some people think that you can cut this off. So this here, just under your lip, you see this like a separate tuft of hair that is part of your beard. And like in the Hanafi madhab, it is wajib to grow that beard, right? So sometimes this hair under your lip here, this one here, it's like maybe a bit disheveled or it stands up. So that doesn't mean you can cut it. You must put some oil on it and make it flat. You found it. Can't find. Okay, carry on then. Okay, so whilst we're discussing the masla of the beard, Ainun Faqaf. Yeah, but I think it's refers right. So the first place a person starts whitening is here by the what we call the baby beard and what you call here by the temples. So Anfaqatihi refer to the babe, what we there might be a more technical name, but we refer to as a baby beard. And here the temples, right? Okay, leave it aside, no problem. You can't find, don't worry. So what you want to say here is this that remember according to the Hanafi madhab, what see when you chew, you see where this bone reach your skull, from there on the actual bone right around to the top, including your baby beard, you cannot cut that. That must be left to to grow um, one first length. Yes, what is over and above one first length, that you can cut. You understood that? It's quite clear. Okay. Samatatun refer to the white, yeah, on the bone, the old jawbone. So what is on the jawbone? You have to grab it in your fist, your own fist, not your small son's fist, or not your baby daughter's fist, your own fist. And what is over and above the fist that you can cut like that. That's proven from the hadith. In fact, there's a riwayat in Bukhari Shareef, Ibn Umar, he used to do that. He used to grab hold of his beard like this with his fist. So you can do like this. You take this with your fist like this here. You cut there, and you cut it on the side, you put your hand like that, and you cut there. And then a lot of people make the mistake also. See, they cut the side here, but remember I told you where the jawbone reaches the skull, that also has to be grown a full first length. That's the Hanafi madhab. In the Shafi madhab, there is a bit more latitude, but the Hanafi madhab still there where it joins. And I told you the baby beard also is part of it. So I remember Muhammad Hakim Akhtar Saab used to say that certain people when sometimes this baby beard curls up a little bit like this, so it looks a bit untidy. So he says, you know what, if your small child comes and sits on your head, what do? You chop his head off, or what do? You take him nicely and you put him down. You don't chop. Hey, you're troubling me, sit on my head, you chop his head off. Same thing if your baby beard is troubling you. You don't chop him off. Take some oil and make it flat. You understood that? So remember that definition of the beard. Anyway, carry on. Read the next hadith. Oh yeah, I was telling you. Sorry, I was giving an explanation. Shamafatun. Yeah, it's explained in a unique way in the Shara. Shamafatun refer to the white hair that comes about as the result of old age, right? So yeah, when he says fa'al to, if I could do it, like how in English you say, "God, there's such a few people, man. You can count them on your hand. How many people was there by the program? Or how many people did you meet today? Ah, such a few people. You can actually count them on your fingers." So same thing. There's the gray hairs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so few, you can actually cut them. And you can actually count them. Right? Then that's yeah. So the whole purpose of Hazrat Anas here is he wanted to show that Nabi Sallallahu gray hair was not so much. It was not so much that he needed to die, whatever. Right? Carry on. Next one. You got shamamtu or shamimtu? You must just check it. Maybe the original was shamama yashmimu. I got you also. Okay, carry on. Miskan. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I got shamimtu and masistu. You must just check there. What is it on what scale it is? Is it on the daraba yadribu scale or is it on the fa'ala yaf'alu scale? Fataha yaftahu scale. So if it's on the daraba yadribu, so there may be shamimtu, masistu. There means the original was just masasa yamsisu, shamama shamama yashmimu. Then obviously, when you come to the hadir scale, you bring that meme out. Anyway, وعن أنس narrating authority was أنس قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أزهر لوني, bright colored, bright you can say what you call it, complexion, right? Right? كان أرقه كان أرق you got it? Yeah. كان أرقه اللؤلؤة. You got any حركة دي معين upside down, but أرقه اللؤلؤة, but that makes sense. And his perspiration were like pearls. That's why even in English you say beads of perspiration drip down like a bead, like a pearl. So it was, I know, if Nabi Sallallahu was maybe like perspiring, maybe due to the heat or due to some excessive work, it would come down like pearls from him. إذا مشى تكفأ. When he would walk as though he was walking down from a high place to a low place. وما مسست ديباجا ولا حريرا. I did not touch ديباج and حرير. You teach this word, you do also, you do it in detail in Kitab al-Libas if you never do it as yet. It refers to brocades of thick silk, and harira refer to more like a fine silk. So the Sahabi is saying, I did not touch coarse silk and neither fine silk. Aliyan, more soft, and aliyan, more fine, min kaffi Rasulillahi sallallahu, than the palm of Rasulullah sallallahu. Wala shamimtu, and neither did I ever smell miskan, any musk, ولا أنبرة and any amber أطيب, more fragrant من رائحة من رائحة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, than the smell or the fragrance of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I told you azharul lawn means clear. We discussed this yesterday. When a person is unhealthy, when he's sick, when he's depressed, when he got problems, emotional, psychological, then he loses the sparkle in his eye. He loses the cut. His skin loses that healthy glow, etc. So yeah, Nabi Sallam had a healthy glow. So he had a healthy glow in his skin. تكفأ يتكفأ تكفؤا. I told you تكفأ يتكفأ. تكفؤا refer to as though you are leaning forward and walking. And I told you, Dibajan referred to like a more thick silk, and Harira, more fine silk. Ambara is actually, this is a type of fragrance that is harvested from the amber oil, right? Okay, read the next hadith. كيطيب عليه وكان كثير الحرس فكان تجمع عرفه فتجعله في. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أخت سليم ما هذا؟ قال عرفك تجعله في سيمنا وهو من أسود في رواية قال إن رسول الله تبدو بركته ديارنا. قال الصبتي. Okay, beautiful hadith. متفق عليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن أم سليم نريتنا أخبرت أم سليم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يأتيها. That Nabi used to come to this lady, was elderly lady, her name was Sulaim, right? فيقيل, this is قال يقيل, not قال يقول. He used to take an afternoon siesta by her, right? right? فيقيل إنها فتبسط نطعا. She would spread out like something, like a bed, like something for him to rest on, right? فيقيل عليه. Then Nabi Muhammad should take his siesta on that. وكان كثير العرق. This is again, I tell you, al-idafatu ila takhsis. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to, little abundant of sweating. It was used to perspire a lot, right? فكانت, so this is كان يستعمل. She used to تجمع عرقه. She used to gather up the perspiration of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. فتجعله في الطيب. Then she should take the perspiration of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and she used to put it in fragrance, whatever fragrance. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أم سليم أو أم سليم ما هذا? What is this? قالت أراكك, your perspiration يا رسول الله, نجعله في طيننا في طيبنا. We place this in our fragrance, right? Whatever fragrance you got. وهو من أطيب الطيب. This is the most fragrant of fragrance. In other words, your perspiration يا رسول الله, it even makes our fragrance more fragrant, right? Your perspiration. وفي رواية, and in another riwayat is mentioned, قالت يا رسول الله, she says, يا رسول الله نرجو بركته. We are hoping for his blessing, his benediction. لصبياننا, for our children. قال أصبتي, you've done what is correct. متفق عليه, and this is a متفق عليه riwayat. Two, three things is mentioned here. There's two, three things I want to touch on. Here they say, lit'an. Remember the original sunnah for your dastarkhan. In Urdu, you say dastarkhan. Like, but the actual word in Arabic is called a sufra. Your sufra, which you eat on, right? So, lit'an refer to like how you spread out a dastarkhan to reach, to eat on that year. Like this also, this was like a leather bed or something like that. So here it's mentioned that Sulaim was the foster aunt. Khala. What does khala means? Even in Arabic you say khalun, and in Urdu or in Gujarati you say your kala. What does it mean, Lukman? Your kala is what? Your mother's. So in Arabic you say khalun, your mother's brother, your mother's sister, khalatun. In Gujarati you say your kala. In Malay language you say khala. That could refer to any woman. Any woman is a khala in Malay language, isn't it? The khala came here and the khala said this and the khala said that. So not that khala. This is khalatun. So the question is, how did Nabi Sallallahu go to this lady's house and relax there, whatever? Firstly, she was aged. She was aged. That's the first thing. And the second explanation here is that she was the foster maternal aunt of Nabi Sallallahu. That means, but if I say the foster maternal aunt, that means Nabi Sallallah's mother is Amina, right? And this lady, Sulaim, they breastfed by the same lady, understood? Although this is a different discussion, but I don't want to confuse you too much also. There's another discussion which says that, like how the laws of the hijab were necessary for us. It wasn't for Nabi Sallallahu. There's also a discussion like that. One day we look at this. The laws of hijab were not applicable for Nabi Sallallahu. He didn't have to observe the laws of hijab, right? Because he was the father of the ummah, right? So anyway, the more preferred expression with the Shareef gives here, he was that Sulaim was either here, is mentioned, either the foster uh, aunt of Nabi Sallallahu by being either his mother's foster sister or either it was his father's. Urdu say Pupi. What do you say? Pupi. And in Gujarati you say Foy. Ne? And in Arabic you say Ammun. Ne? Your father's brother Ammun and father's sister Ammatun, right? So it could be either his mother's sister, foster sister, or his father's sister. That in fact, this was Sulaim, and the other one is Haram also. Both of them is proven from the hadith. Nabi Sallam used to rest by them, etc. I told you, قال يقيل قيلولة. So the question comes about if Nabi Sallam grew up in Makkah, how did he have foster aunts in Medina? Remember, Nabi Sallam's mother was from Medina. Remember, that is why, if you remember correctly, when Nabi Sallam was returning from Medina with his mother when his mother passed away. And there's a place called Abwa. Inshallah, if you go for Umrah one day now, inshallah, if you take the Badr road is a coastal road, you'll see there is written the Abwa. There's a place called Abwa, and that is where the mother of the Nabi. And in fact, I never go there, but from what I remember, even till today, the grave of Rasulullah's mother is marked there, right? The grave is marked there. So you can even go and see it. In fact, if I remember correctly, Nabi Sallallahu actually went to visit this grave after she passed away also. So 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 these both ladies were from the Banu Najjar. Just remember this, they were from the Banu Najjar, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's mother's family was from the Banu Najjar. Okay, one more hadith. We do the last hadith, and then we can switch over to tafsir, read the next hadith. عن جابر بن سمرة الصالح الذي مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الأولى ثم خرج إلى أهله وخرجت معه فاستقبله وجانه وجعل يمسح خدي أحد منهم واحدا فأما أنا فمسح خدي ووجدت من عيده بردا وريحا كأنما أخرجها من جؤنة من جونة أطار من جونة أطار رواه مسلم رواه مسلم. I got جونتي, you got جؤنتي. Okay, carry on. حديث جابر سموا بأسماء في جابر وحديث سائب بن زيد نظرت إلى خاتم المبروح في باب الأحكام. Right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن جابر بن سمرة قال صليت مع رسول الله الصلاة الأولى. Once I read with Nabi الصلاة الأولى, right? ثم خرج إلى أهله. Then he went to his family. وخرجت معه. I went with him. فاستقبله ولدان. Then the children were meeting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This also speaks volumes about the character of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had time for all the children. فجعل يمسح خدي أحدهما واحدا واحدا. Then he began مسح, touching خد خدين. This is خدين with the noon. The noon of tasniya drops off in being a mudaf. He began wiping the two cheeks of every one of them. واحدا واحدا, one cheek, right? وأما أنا فمسح خدي. But me, he touched both my cheeks, right? فوجدت ليده بردا. I found for his hands a coolness, or rihan, or like a pleasant. Yeah, rih actually means wind, but yeah, it means like a what you say, like, all right, okay, yeah, correct, like a nice fragrance. كأنما أخرجها, as though he removed it من جونة أطار, from the utensil of the perfumer. You know, in like how in previous times, like to be an attar was, that's also great. There was also a famous, there was a great buzurg, it was attar. Like how you get a doctor, you get a lawyer, it's a profession. You get a ironmonger, it make a blacksmith put the shoes on the horse. You get the attar, a person that makes special perfume for you. So maybe you're getting married, you tell him I'm getting married to this type of a girl. She explains the what type of girl. Okay, I'm gonna make this special perfume for you. So he'll mix for you according to. So as though it came out of the utensil of the perfumer, right? رواه مسلم. Imam Muslim narrates this right? وذكر حديث جابر, and the hadith of Jabir was also mentioned. سموا باسمي. It said, call me by my name. That's the name of, right? There's a hadith here, that the hadith has in it here. سموا باسمكم, my name, في باب الأسامي, in the chapter of the names of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وحديث Sa'ib ibn Yazid, and also something similar is mentioned in the hadith of Sa'ib ibn Yazid. نظرت إلى خاتم النبوة. I looked at the seal of prophethood في باب أحكام المياه in the chapter of the laws of the water. Okay, interesting here. Obviously, the relevance of the hadith to the Bible is quite obvious. You're speaking about the physical features of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But yes, here, this part here, what he's saying, he's trying to show, he's saying here, wahidan, wahidan. All the other children, maybe some just touch one of these cheeks. But when he came to me, he touched both my cheeks. He touched both my cheeks. So he's trying to show that you are special. Just give. So he's trying to show that you are special. Like when you go meet somebody and then you want to show everybody that you're not an ordinary person. You're a special person. Everybody, you just ask, how are you? But when I came, you asked, how's your mother? How's your father? How's your family? How are you feeling? So obviously, they all love Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam so much. They were all vying for the attention of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they say, Wahid, Wahidan. So as Jabir on the show, he's fazilat, that I was a special person. The others, he just touched one cheek, but me, he touched both my cheeks. So normally, if you look at the word Baradan, coolness is normally a sign of a pleasant thing. Heat is like it has negative connotation. In other words, his touch was so cool, comforting, so pleasant. Right? That's what he's trying to say. So yeah, I told you. Yeah, it says in the Shara it says yeah, uh, bardan or rihan. It was either cool or it was very fragrant. So I told you, Attar is the perfumer, the person that sells perfumes, and he mixes the perfumes. It's with the Dhamma and the Jim, Junatu. So this was, yes, also mentioned in Shara, this was not something that Nabi Sallallahu applied on him. This was something that was the natural fragrance of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Even though, so interesting these mentions, just remember this here. Even though Nabi Sallallahu used to use a lot of perfume, that's to teach us and to show us about the sunniyat of perfume. So, but despite that, he had a naturally pleasant body fragrance, right? Not a bad body odor. So he's mentioned here that when he should take his hand out of his sleeve, it should be cool, comforting, and it should have a very pleasant odor. Okay, we stop there. That's the end of the first hour. Tomorrow we'll start with the first Sani. Just download it. So if I remember, we're still busy with the English explanation of the verse.